Today is April 21st. It's Thursday. DNR boys are back. I'm your host, Cole Wilcox, with my co-host, Nick Schnell, and as always, our producer, Grayson Shook. Boys, what's happening?
How's it going?
What's up?
We have an awesome interview coming up with our boy Shane Baz. Me and Shook held that one down. Schnelly took the day off. What happened there, Schnelly?
I was grinding. I was getting better. I'm trying to get back out on the field.
Yeah.
So, when it came down to it, it was baseball or podcast. And, I have to get that body right.
Gotcha. It had to do with the hierarchy.
Yeah.
We got some stuff to get into. A new segment we got coming up. So let's do it.
Headed down to the neon lights, it's where I want to be, cause I'm just trying to make it. I'm just trying to make it. I'm just trying to make it. I'm trying to make it.
So the first thing I want to talk about on this fine Thursday is Schnelly is about to be a father for real. Like it's any day at this point. You're on call.
No more than 7 days from now.
Do you sleep with your ringer turned all the way up?
Yeah, I put it on. You can put it on sleep mode and then filter it to people like phone calls and texts. So I have the ringer on. I keep the ringer on, but everything silenced except calls from Carly, texts from Carly, and then calls from my mom as well.
Nice.
I'll probably be.
What would you do? How quick do you think you could be there?
Like if it's the middle of the night, that would be the worst. Because I think the best plan I've came up with thus far is get in my car and drive as far as I can, as fast as I can, and get to let's say, in my head, I think if it's the middle of the night, if I can get to Atlanta by the time it's morning and get on a flight at 7 a.m. and be there by 9:30, I think if she went into labor, because it takes about, if you're flying, you can get to Atlanta in about 7.5 hours from here. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Easily. You don't have to be flying, especially in the middle of the night. That's about what it is.
Yeah. So maybe you could even get there in 7. And hypothetically in that scenario, I could be there in 9.5 hours if it all played out perfectly. So.
Yeah. Would you be they don't run flights at all in the middle of the night? Surely they do. None? No red eyes?
Mm-mm. Not from here to Indiana.
That could be an issue.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. If it was middle of the night, if it was 3 a.m., I could get to Atlanta by 9:30, 10, hop on a nonstop easy from there and be there by whatever. So
you're not even looking at the freaking price of that plane ticket.
No.
It's just an instant purchase. That's a future you problem there.
Yeah. That's we'll figure out the bank account after. Yeah.
We'll move some money to the account.
Today I text my mom because I had my phone out. Rarely do I go out to the field with my phone, but I had my phone on me out at the field, and I did the same thing. I put it on work, so we weren't in the middle of a team meeting, and my phone started ringing. But I put it on a phone call from Carly, text from Carly, phone call from my mom, and then I told her if I don't answer when I'm at the field, call both my agents, have them get in touch with somebody from the Rays. And then I also sent my mom your number and was if I'm not at the field or if I am at the field, I said, call Cole and he'll be able to get to me. So,
yeah, we'll get you there for sure.
Yeah.
But you said yesterday it's starting to get a little nervous. The nerves are back.
Yeah. I think it's I think what I'm nervous and stressed about is if she would go into labor before I leave Saturday. If it is on Saturday, then I'm midday Saturday, I'm comfortable because I'll be there in time. Unless it's just the quickest delivery of all time. But I feel confident that I know everybody's is different, but I'm pretty sure that Kate, my sister-in-law, her water broke at during dinner and she didn't have the baby till early the next morning. So it was almost 12 hours. And I'm pretty sure hers was considered pretty smooth. So.
Gotcha. Well, as it was well documented yesterday, we went to Miami to see the boys, see the Hawks play. Nice little road trip, get away from Port Charlotte for a little bit. Go see great city, Miami. But to start out,
that place stinks, by the way.
Chanel was not a fan of Miami. I mean, it's not like we got there and like explored the city or nothing. We were just right beside the gym, and we ate it. What was that?
Yeah, so we had a small sample size and it stunk, which means the likelihood of the rest of it stinking is high. If you're from Miami, I'm sorry that I'm saying this. Maybe it's not like that everywhere. But as far as downtown Miami, that place stinks.
What stinks about it?
Dude, it's not. It's just too many things going on. There's some out there people there, for sure.
we went in like 7 different stores trying to find a bathroom, dude. I was literally about to wet my britches, like. And
then we find a place we can go, and I'm going like they had to unlock it for you, and I'm thinking Cole's following me. He's talking about how.
Dude, I thought it was a single bathroom.
I would have let you go.
We're at Ross.
Yeah, I know. I would have let you go if it was a single.
Dude, I saw bathrooms. I was walking down the street. I looked in T-Mobile. I saw the bathroom, and went in there, and this guy stopped me instantly. He was like, "Can I help you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I need to use that bathroom." And he was like, "Oh, not for public use." And dude, it took all the restraint I have to not be like, you either let me use that bathroom or I piss right here on your carpet, because I've got to go bad. Like it was hurt at this point. I was scared to walk.
I mean, you were talking about it like while we were in the car, and it was probably another 30 minutes. Yeah, at least 25 before you.
But shout out to Ross. That was a huge clutch moment from them, because we thought they didn't have it either, but they came in.
Talk about interesting place. So we walked in there. I didn't hear one lick of English in there.
Yeah. That's
and it wasn't just like Latin Americans or like there were people from literally everywhere in that place. Like I heard like German. I heard like maybe some French. I don't even know what the languages were.
I was about to say, you'd be able to determine the difference in German and French if you heard it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'd say like I'm 68% confident I could.
Yeah, Miami did have a lot going on yesterday. There's a guy out there. There was a guy out there with 4 parrots. He literally had 4 parrots.
And then he was walking away. We're leaving where we were eating and heading back to, or going to the arena. And he's walking with one of them and leaves the other 3 just sitting there with 2 people around it. Like that, I'm pretty sure had nothing to do with them.
And they were just chilling.
Yeah,
they're well-trained parrots.
I said if it tried to attack me, I was going to ring its neck.
That parrot would wear you out.
Dude, it was scary looking. They big old creepy eyes.
So then we go into the arena. The arena was beautiful. Like it was very nice. And Miami was a very good looking town. Like you cutting it some slack. Like where we ate was sick. Like the view and everything was very nice. But I do have some beef with some Miami fans. That was like, it was game 2 of the playoffs, and it sounded like a preseason game in there.
They didn't even want to stand up during the game.
Yeah, and listen, you have to understand the majority of the sporting events I've been to is Georgia football games. I don't sit down one time while I'm there. So I'm standing up. I look around, I'm the only one standing up in the entire section. There's this woman behind me, and she said, "Can you sit down?" Like said it just like that. And so I turned around, and
she said it with an attitude.
Yeah, and trying to be like as least disrespectful as possible. I was like, "We're at a sporting event," and she said, and she just kind of threw her hands up like, "So?" And so I just like, "Sorry." So I turned back around. She tapped me again. She said, "You're not going to sit down?" I said, "I wasn't planning on it." She said, "Are these your seats?" And we were literally like,
we were courtside. You
saw on our Instagram, but we're way up there.
Courtside.
And it took all that I had to not be like, nah, we were actually sitting courtside. We just chose to come sit up here in the nosebleeds so I could stand up right in front of you. That was my whole goal of this whole thing. So, no, I did not sit down. I stood up. like a normal human being at a sporting event, and I had a good time.
And just for everybody's information, we could have sat courtside, but we chose to sit in the nosebleeds because we're gritty people. And I mean, we wanted to be far away.
You can't get the full scope of the game.
No, courtside.
From courtside. It's impossible.
And, I mean, how is Trae Young going to do Trae Young things if we're down there distracting him?
Yeah, we got to see the play develop from the top. We got to see the holes open.
I will say this. I was thinking about this today because somebody asked me how the game went. And I'm a little bit more emotionally tied to the Hawks than I ever thought I would be. Like I care about, because I don't have an NBA team, so just because how much you care about them, I've started just like cheering for them. And now they're in the playoffs and those games matter, and I'm like, I'm ready to like when DeAndre Hunter decides to be the worst basketball player on the planet, like I'm ready to go down there and yank him off the court with you.
You're out for blood today on this pod.
Well, at Let's Get Tropical and on Fairway Drive when we're watching the Hawks, nobody gets more heat than DeAndre Hunter when we're watching basketball games. We are on his head constantly. We wouldn't be.
It was frustrating.
Shots.
No, the problem yesterday was it was one of the worst officiating. I don't even like to blame the officials, and it's not just like the officials against the Hawks. It was the fact that they blew the whistle on every single play. Like the game lasted 3 hours because we couldn't get through 30 seconds without them blowing a whistle on somebody, hand checking somebody. Like, bro, it's the playoffs.
Everybody's talking about Jimmy Butler having 45. He had 44 from the free throw line.
Yeah, it was a free throw fest, but good road trip. Schnelly cashed for 2 hours on the way back. Classic.
Let's bring Cooper on here to tell some of the stories he was telling you in the car.
Yeah. Schnell got shotgun stolen from him, so he just decided to outlaw that by taking a 3-hour nap on the way back.
Yeah, if you're not in shotgun, you have no responsibility to keep the driver awake. So I took it. It was already 11:30, and we were going to get home at 1:15. I wasn't staying up for that. Yeah. If I was sitting shotgun, I would have done it.
Sure. So that's about all I got for Miami. I wish we'd have brought back a dub, but we're going back to Atlanta now. I got to take 2. The series doesn't start till somebody wins a road game anyway, or it's just a 1 game against a game 7 off. So that's all I'm worried about. As soon as the Heat win 1 in Atlanta, I will officially be worried. But until then, we're smooth sailing. We got them right where we want them. Yeah. So here's the new segment. And on the interview with Baz, actually, we talked about this. And we've been low-key doing this for a little bit now. But we like to break up the old baseball myths. Like we've talked about on here before, velo doesn't matter. And we talked about it with Coach Kenny, and we talked about it a little bit with Baz. The old saying of velo don't matter is straight eyewash. If someone tells you that, they are lying to you. They're not they might.
It is harder to hit a 95-mile-an-hour fastball than it is to hit an 88-mile-an-hour fastball.
And you'll have when y'all listen to the Baz interview, you'll understand more what I'm saying, because he kind of went about his success a little bit backwards a lot backwards than what you're taught at a young age. But in my opinion, it makes sense. So, I'll let you hear the interview. We won't do much more on that. But the myth we are busting today is the old saying, hit the ball on the ground. Schnelly, would you like to kick us off?
Well, the easy way to explain it is
this is coming from a guy who never hits the ball on the ground.
Yeah.
So a good source here.
Yeah. Well, the easiest way to explain it, to really break it down for people that don't understand, would you rather try and beat 5 people or 3 people? That's the easiest way I can explain it.
Really, 6 people.
Yeah.
The catcher. Like if you're bunting.
Yeah. Like it just makes more sense that if you can hit the ball over the infield, your likelihood of getting a hit increases. And I got some numbers for us too, which if people understand baseball will understand. But baseball is
I'll explain them. I'll break it down.
Yeah, baseball is heading in a different direction. Like they still put averages on a scoreboard. I can promise you that nobody in the Rays organization gives a rip what their hitters are hitting. Like their average literally does not matter at all. And I guarantee a lot of other organizations are the same thing. OPS matters, slugging matters, a thing called WOBA matters, and then WRC plus. But WRC plus is hard to explain.
All right, pause.
Explain WOBA.
OPS is on base plus slugging. Pretty simple. OPS is pretty much the total number of bases you're hitting for. So like obviously singles 1, doubles 2, triples 3, home runs 4, and it's divided by your at bats, right?
Yes.
That's OPS. Slugging is I'm not how it exactly is slugging determined.
It's
slugging.
like
What you just explained is slugging.
Okay, that's right.
On base percentage is
Yeah. I was right. That's why I got confused. That's slugging.
Yeah.
Slugging is what I just described, and then that plus your on base percentage, which is just the number of times you're on base, is your OPS, which is like the old average is OPS. Like that is the most important number you should be looking at for a hitter in today's
because it's
baseball,
how often you
OPS.
get on base and how much damage you do.
Right. How dangerous of a hitter you are is realistically what OPS is.
Yeah. And like WOBA is weighted on base average. So basically a walk is worth a certain amount. A single is worth 1, a double is worth 2, a triple is worth 3, and a home run's worth 4.
I don't think it's those whole numbers. I think it's like, I don't think so. I think a walk is less than 1. I think a walk is less than 1. A single's 1. A double's like 1.3. A triple's like 1.7. Yeah. I don't think it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
And it fluctuates by year too, based on the league average. So.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't think it's as a whole number. It's a little bit harder to determine, but yes, the theory is right,
340 is what they want, like what they tell us to shoot for WOBA. And the Rays go even as far as to doing expected WOBA, so it's X WOBA. So basically, they have an algorithm that tells you like if I hit a ball 110 at 12 degrees, the probability of it being a hit, and then by that probability, they break down WOBA. So like, it's wild, but so here's a little timetable on grounders, and this is 2013. It's just the first article that popped up when I was trying to do research, and it had a good little timetable or number table, whatever the heck it's called. And grounders on base percentage is 232, slugging is 250, OPS is 483, which is not good. And then WOBA was 213, which is not good. Liners on base percentage is 685. Slugging is 883, which is elite. OPS is 1.568, very elite. And WOBA is 681.
Those are like not sustainable numbers for a season. Like no one's ever had an OPS of 1.5.
But if you hit liners every single time.
Every time, yeah.
That is what it's saying. And then fly balls, OBP is 213, which is lower than grounders, but slugging is 621, which is 400 points higher. OPS is 834, which is 400 points higher. And WOBA is 346, which is 150 points higher than grounders.
Yeah.
So basically, if you hit the ball in the air, hit the ball hard and in the air, you're a good hitter. If you hit the ball on the ground and hard or soft, you're not a good hitter.
Yeah, and it's
in today's baseball.
And that's the number side of it. Alex, I'm going to break down the actual why that is, why those numbers are the way they are. And it has nothing to do with I don't know, it's not necessarily the grounders that are bad. It's the fact that who you're hitting the grounders to. So it talks about in this article that I'm reading, it talks about how the defense has changed so much. And like it says, it's everybody likes to talk about launch angle and talk about,
which I don't necessarily agree with either.
Right. No. And everybody just loves home runs. That's not what it is. It's simply just playing the numbers like Chanel just mentioned. And why those numbers are so drastic is because it's what happened to defenses. Infielders on average, these are on first base. This is the difference in depth they're playing. The average first base depth has gone back over a foot since 2016. Second base has gone back over 2 feet since 2016. Shortstop a little over 1, and third base over 7. So infielders are playing deeper. And the reason for that is because the arms have never been stronger. You see guys like Machado and Tatis. So the ranges are more. They can get guys out from that range. And the infield is just elite. Like, defense is elite. Not saying that there was bad defenders in the past. They just never played at the depths that they're playing at now, and the range was not as much. So, like you said, when you hit a ball on the ground, more times than not, it's going to be fielded.
Yeah.
And so it backed up that numbers talk about the Braves from this past year. So there was a game 6 of the NLCS. The Braves sent 40 batters to the plate against the Dodgers. Only one of them made an out on the ground. They're the only team with just one grounder for an out in the 446 playoff games since 2010. So they completely changed their philosophy. The Braves did. They want to get the ball in the air. It talks about, it gives some numbers on, as a team, they didn't hit for a high average, but like we talked about,
The Rays
today's
don't
baseball,
either, and they hit like second most homers in the league last year.
That's not what they're going for, because they're willing to trade. They factor a ground out and a strikeout about the same. Like, it's an out.
Yeah.
Like, in their mind, that's an out. So they'd rather you go for the line drive than roll into a ground out, which could also be 2 outs. Strikeout's always just 1 out.
Yeah.
It said with a 244 average, the Braves were the worst hitting world championship team since the DH was added in 1973. But it didn't matter. This is how you win in the information age. Get the ball in the air. This article, I'll give a shout out, is from Sports Illustrated. Death of the Ground Balls, if you want to read it, is the title.
The other thing that I'll say is, I'm not saying sell out for homers. I'm not saying literally take daddy hacks. I'm saying if you can hit the ball from, and if people don't know this, like, if you hit the ball at 10 degrees, which isn't very, like, that angle isn't very high. That's like a decently low line drive. For the most part, if you backspin a ball at 10 degrees at the shortstop or second baseman, it's going to get over, like, they're going to jump and it's going to get over their glove by like that much. Some shortstops and second basemen would catch it. So if you can hit the ball hard from 10 degrees to 35, which is a very wide range, if you can hit the ball hard between those two, you're going to have a lot of success. You could hit a line drive at like 5 degrees and it could get between first and second. But if you can keep the ball between 10 and 35 degrees, I guarantee if you look up the best hitters in baseball, that they hit most of their balls in that area. The other thing is, I don't have the like article or anything, but Curtis Mead and I talked about this last year a lot when we were talking about hitting, and the biggest difference in big leaguers to minor leaguers is the ability to pull the ball in the air. And if you look at it, Mike Trout pulls the ball in the air more than anybody else in baseball. And look at him.
Here's a good stat. Last season, only one of the 8 teams who hit the most ground balls made the playoffs, which was the White Sox. Meanwhile, 7 of the 11 teams who hit the fewest made the playoffs. And the batting average on balls in play each of the past 2 seasons is .292. So the averages are down because guys are trying to hit the ball in the air, and it turns to more strikeouts. But when they are put in play, the batting average is much, much higher. You have to go back to 1992 to find a time when it was harder to get a hit on a ball in play. So, like, you hit the ball on the ground, it literally teams just factor that as an out. Like, that's why averages are down, because like you said, I mean, it's either a strikeout, and then if the ball does get in the air, like, it could be a pop out. But also, if it's between that 10 and 30 degree range, it's going to be more likely a hit. See, yeah, it shows some of the numbers that you were talking about. This was just last year. Were you reading just last year's numbers, Snelly?
I'm reading an article right now about Josh Donaldson. I was reading 2013 numbers when I was talking about
2013 numbers. So yeah, this is 2021 numbers. Ground balls average 241, slugging 266, fly balls average 224, so down, but slugging is up 400, over 400, 692. Line drive average 637. Now, like, line drives are obviously always what it is, but you see like the slugging difference in pop-ups and ground balls, just how drastic it is. So like we said, I mean, you can literally look back at last year, the World Series champion completely changed their philosophy and rode it to the World Series. Like, think back of all the Braves' big hits. What were they? Solaire's home run in Houston, Dansby's home run, Freddie's jacks. Like, they're home runs. Like, you get guys on base, you walk, you get on base, and then you hit home runs.
Dudes are throwing so hard. If you take your barrel to the baseball and put it in the air, it's going to go over the fence.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Here's the thing about that, though, is that take a guy like Dansby, for example, a guy who traditionally throughout his career has been a below average hitter,
right,
league wide. When you get guys like that and you just say, we want to simplify the game for you. We want you to focus on this. We want you to focus on hitting line drives, hitting the ball hard, and get it off the ground, basically. So when you do that, you make his numbers go up. He has a good World Series, and ultimately you win a championship.
Yeah, you cut, like, a good way to put that would be you give value to a guy who might not have been as valuable before. Because like Dansby has pop, like, and he was mixing in some home runs, but it wasn't as many because, you know, he had a different philosophy on hitting. But when you get him going to that 10 to 30 degree angle goal, then you have guys hitting the ball out of the park.
I just found an article and it says grounders are becoming automatic outs and it's the hitter's fault. And it's basically talking about, like, the other thing we didn't talk about is shifts. Like,
right.
If you watch a baseball game, actually, I'm not even going to say that because I could be wrong. I would just be making a guess when I said that. But at least for me as a hitter, if I go, so pull side for me, if I pull a ball, it's more likely to be a grounder for me in my swing. But if I hit a ball backside, I'm going to hit it in the air. So teams, even though I stay the other way most of the time, the infield will shift me pull side. And when I did hit the ball pull side, it'd be on the ground most of the time. And yeah, I mean, I hit some line drives over, but like 98% of my ground balls were to the right side of the field. And then you got shifts, and now you're trying to beat three guys on the right side of the diamond.
Well, that's where the term rollover comes into account. When you roll over a ball, it's a pull side.
Yeah.
So tell me this, Schnelly, why can't you hit a ground ball to the other side when they're shifted?
Well, I try sometimes, and I have before, but like if you let a ball get deep and most guys natural swing path, like where baseball and like launch angles come in and like people disagreeing, it all stems from like what, like the way people explain it. Like people have different work. Like if you watch Mike Trout, like the way he like practices is his hand. Like he wants people in the cage to throw balls like above his head and he's trying to chop down on them. But if you watch him in the game, he has the most like scripted, like uppercut swing. Like he doesn't like the ball up, but he practices it there. And that's how it's like a feels thing. People call it feels. So like Alex Rodriguez on MLB Network talked about how his swing was down. Go watch any at bat Alex Rodriguez took, and his bat was on plane with the baseball, and it's upper. If the baseball is coming like this and you're trying to match the plane, automatically you're gonna have uppercut. And a launch angle, like technically you'd have a negative launch angle. Launch angle is just saying at what degree the ball is being hit. Like I can have a launch angle swing and I can literally hit balls directly on the ground because the ball hitting my bat is creating a launch angle. So like people are just using like I'm trying to think of the word, like the way they explain things is different. And so people interpret it different ways. And so like, if you tell me, hey, swing down, I'm going to interpret that different than if you were a hitter and someone told you to swing down. You know what I mean? Like when I hear swing down, I think just be direct to the ball, which is two completely different ways to say it. And so like, I'm like, okay, someone's saying like I would, instead of me saying swing down on the ball, I'd say, hey, be direct to the ball. Like just.
And you're saying that when you swing down, that naturally creates a launch angle of 10 to 30 degrees.
Yeah, if you're just direct, when people say swing down, they don't mean literally swing down on the ball. They just mean be direct to the ball. Take your hands, because if you think about it, if you're taking your hand straight to the baseball, this is happening. but because you have like your torso has tilt, your hips are working, your whole body has to work. And it, like if you're taking like, and then your shoulders also have an angle, or creating an angle. So you have all these angles working together. And if you're direct to the ball, like everybody's swing is built pretty much at this level. I'm not saying like there's obviously some like high school kids that, no offense, just don't have great swings, but like, and haven't been taught the right things. But at this level, guys are being direct to the ball and hitting the ball into the air. I wish you would have talked to Baz about the slow pull, because he talks about it. He calls it a slow pull. And that's just when guys get long. And that's what makes people crazy about the launch angle thing, is it creates a long swing because everybody wants to hit home runs. And then you're doing more than you have to. And it's making your swing look like they call it like a, what did we see yesterday? That roller coaster thing. What's it called? A Ferris wheel. They call it a Ferris wheel. And like, that's what people are trying to get away from, is because people hear that and they think like that's a big circle. So they're thinking like long and loopy.
Yeah. And
then it's creating way more swings and misses, where like
you can sum all this up pretty much by saying when you're short and compact to the ball, that creates the desired movement. Yeah, the desired angle of the ball you want to hit.
But you could go tell Mike Trout, hey, Ferris wheel. And he may be short and compact to the ball, but you have to tell him, hey, Ferris wheel, just to like match the angle of the ball. It's all in how everything like is interpreted. That's why there's so many people that disagree with things. It's because you have to be able to like break down what somebody's telling you and understand. Like there should be, if someone tells you to do something as a hitter, you should say why. And if they don't have an explanation for you, then you shouldn't do it. Because like, if you can't explain to me why you're telling me to swing down on the ball, if someone says swing down on it, and then I say why, and they say, well, it makes you more direct to the baseball and like helps you match the plane better. And I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll be more direct to the baseball. Because then you're getting more information on what they're trying to say to you. Or if someone says, hey, Ferris wheel to the ball, why? Well, then you're matching the plane of the baseball. And it gives you a better opportunity to drive the ball in the air. Okay.
So to circle all this up, in theory, when coaches say hit the ball on the ground, I feel like, and what they're trying to do is produce, like more times than not, they're using that saying to try to get what you're talking about.
Yes, exactly.
So trying to get the direct path to the baseball, match the angle of the ball. And but the way it's coming across is hit the ball into the ground. Well, I've seen guys chop balls into the ground because their coach said, hey, hit the ball on the ground. Like you said, it's interpreted differently, where in a vacuum, hit the ball on the ground means hit the ball on the freaking ground. Like do it. And unless you have the knowledge like you're talking about of what they're actually inferring, then you're going to hit the ball on the ground, and numbers say that that's probably an out.
Yeah.
So myth, you just got busted.
Yeah, that got way more in depth than when it comes down to it, the numbers just say hit the ball in the air.
Yeah. I mean, it could all
myth busted by that.
It could all be summed up by just
look at the numbers.
Because they don't lie. You can't, you can argue a lot in this life. You can't argue against numbers. They're there.
Yeah.
They're calculated.
I mean, and that's why big league teams are starting to use numbers. They're not using, like, no offense, but like scouts, they're starting to like, not like, but like major league scouts. Like,
I mean, there's still some intangibles that can't be measured by numbers that are needed in the scouting department.
But just teams are using way less.
In terms of straight stuff, it honestly makes scouts' job easier, I feel like.
Yeah.
Anything else before we get over to Bozzy?
I think we're good.
Let's hope the Hawks get it back to 2-0 by the time we or 2-2 by the time we come back.
Next time the episode's released, I'll have a baby.
Yeah, most likely. You might not be on the next one.
Yeah, I probably won't, unless we got whatever's in the works figured out, and then
True. Other than that, We'll get you over the interview. Hope y'all enjoy it. And if you got any myths that you want busted, or you have any topics you want confirmed, I guess myth busted or confirmed, send them our way. You can text me. You can comment on DNR. You can do whatever you want, and we'll do our best. We might. Yeah, I'll tell you what we should do. We should chop this down into like a smaller video, just like not as in depth, but just like kind of quick hitting, get some facts, and then post it. Like a little Mythbuster, like a little TikTok style video. All right. As always, stay sparkly. Go Hawks. All right. We now welcome on another special guest, one of our boys, Shane Baz. Shane, what's going on?
What's going on, Cole? Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Schnelly will be joining us soon. Had a long day at the field. And dude, when I was leaving, like, you know how it is. There's only one entrance to the place. One entrance, one exit.
Yeah.
Dude, they had some like tow truck dropping stuff off right in the entrance. So we're all just lined up waiting on it to move. About 30 minutes.
Oh yeah.
We picked 3 o'clock to do this.
The perfect time when everyone's leaving.
So yeah. So I don't know when he'll be hopping on, but he should be on here soon.
That's all right.
I guess we'll get started with how you feeling, man, after the little minor deal you're dealing with.
I'm feeling good. I'm throwing now, so I'm back out to like past 100 feet, and it's feeling good. So it's starting to, catch some traction as far as like volume of throwing and off speed and stuff. So I'm feeling good right now.
It has to feel like a lot better, like relief wise, just getting that thing out of there. I bet it feels free almost.
Definitely. Like it was probably something I was dealing with for a little bit. So, and then it kind of just came up all at once. So, yeah, the best way that I could describe it is like getting a rock out of your shoe. That's kind of the best way I heard it explained. So that's kind of how it's feeling right now. It's definitely like, different, but it's definitely better.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess you're still like kind of shooting for a summer return.
Yeah, I'm on the 60 days. So I think that'll be another like month and a half until then. So probably, shooting around June.
Nice. You've been watching a lot of games while you've been down?
Dude, every day.
Yeah.
I've been watching them every day. I was watching the Dodgers Braves right now, but I've been watching all the Rays games, honestly.
That was nuts, Freddie going deep his first at bat against them.
I know.
You can't script that much better.
Like, yeah, just they can't play bad baseball against each other.
No, that's always a good series. Pretty dominated last night.
Yeah.
Well,
Freeze nasty.
Yeah, he's gross. I wanted to kick off because I think you're the first person we've talked to that did this, but you played in Tokyo last year during the Olympics. I want to talk a little bit about that experience. Like, how early did they reach out to you, and was it like an automatic yes when they did?
So yeah, the way that went down was like got called. So if I remember correctly, the team was leaving for Japan because Joe Ryan was going, who I was with in Durham at the time, and he was already on the team going, had went to the qualifier, but I didn't. And basically it was around like July 10th or something that they were leaving. So I got a call about the 4th, like 6 or 7 days before, if I remember correctly. And it was from Jeff. And he was like, hey, we just got asked like about this opportunity for you, yada, yada, yada. You're more than welcome to go. Like, they leave in 5 days. But it's totally up to you. And I'm like, okay, like, cool. I really appreciate that. And like, obviously wanted to like ask just a few more questions. And he was like, basically they needed a starting pitcher. So they were asking around to what teams would like let their players go. So that's kind of how I got introduced, probably just because Joe was already going. But yeah, literally left like the next week.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So the Rays were pretty cool with it. Like they were like, yeah, go ahead if you want to.
Totally cool with it. They were like, you know, probably not going to call you up anytime soon. So,
Yeah,
you know, that's kind of how it is. But they were just like, yeah, it's totally up to you. They were awesome about it.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. And so you just kind of hopped on with the team and went straight over to Tokyo.
Yeah, dude. We played 2 scrimmages in Durham against a collegiate team and then left like the next day.
That's a long flight.
Yeah, it was. It was like 16.
Yeah. Did y'all go to California first and then over?
We went to Newark.
Okay.
We went to Newark and then all the way across. But
yeah.
You've been too? When did you go?
I went in college. It fell on the year where we played in Japan. So that would have been 2019, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that flight was brutal, dude. I had a middle seat on the way there.
Dude,
And
we flew coach.
yeah,
We flew coach.
That's big.
It was
time.
like, dude, like some of the vets were not happy.
I can imagine.
Not happy.
I can imagine. Yeah, I remember getting to my seat and seeing I was in the middle, and I was like, brutal.
Big for that.
Brutal. I ended
next
up,
to your teammates too.
Yeah, 2 teammates, 2 infielders. One was Alika, actually. I mean, I'm like, dude, get in the middle.
Yeah.
I ended up DMing United Airlines on Twitter while I was in Japan, and I was like, dude, I can't do this again. My hips were jacked for like 3 days, and they responded, and they pretty much said they couldn't talk to me while I was overseas. I don't know what it was, so I had to get my dad to like deal with them and figure out to get me to the aisle.
Oh my god!
But I did. I literally could not have done it again.
Yeah,
it was the worst.
That's bad. I was next to Nick Allen, and luckily for COVID reasons, they had the middle seat open.
Oh, that's huge.
And so we had a little extra room, but yeah, it's a long flight, dude. It's long.
Yeah. Speaking of Nick Allen, he's got called up, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my dog. I texted him, dude. He's one of the best defenders I've ever seen. Straight up.
Yeah, I'd always heard that because were y'all in the same class in high school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I played USA with him in high school and like perfect game and that stuff. But yeah, he's definitely the homie.
Where did y'all go during high school for USA?
Mexico, Monterrey.
Okay. That's
sick. It was sick, dude. We won it, so it was good.
Is that a World Cup or?
It's called a Pan Am Games.
Yeah, because it like alternates every year, right? Because I think we had the World Cup the next year.
Yeah, and it was all Latin countries. It was was some really good baseball.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, what was the experience like over there? Like going through the ceremonies and everything? Was it like it had to be pretty wild?
Dude, yeah, like because they had basketball in it, so you're seeing like KD and Dame Lillard, and like I said, what's up to Draymond Green, and I was like, bro, you were on my fantasy basketball team, like you're a beast, like dapped him up, and he was like, oh, bro, I got you, like draft me again, I'll play better this year, like just being cool about it, and I was like, all right, cool, and like JaVale McGee, like Brittany Griner, like, so you're just like walking around and one of them will just pass you. Like I was maybe the most normal looking person like ever, just medium size. Like the women are as tall as me and the men are like that because they're all doing like, dude, like pole vault and swimming and stuff. So they're just like freaks, weightlifters.
Yeah,
it was opening ceremony was really cool. They did a really cool show, and then like we had basically like a week or two of just practice, and like I'd never experienced jet lag like that, where you're just like actually flipped around on time zones, and like, dude, nobody was like sleeping and stuff, and like it's literally like 12-hour difference, so it was like or 11 hours. So it was rough at first, but
yeah,
the village was cool. They basically did like a cafeteria style with like food from every continent kind of. And I mean, massive cafeterias, but yeah, dude, they honestly took pretty good care of us. Like,
it's sick.
It was good.
Well, you mentioned not sleeping. From what I hear, not many people sleep in the Olympic Village anyway.
Oh, dude, like so I heard some wild stories. Like, it was very, very strict with COVID stuff. So like we had to like, wear a mask everywhere, and I didn't really think, and kind of got to explain to me like they're testing us like twice a day, like crazy like stuff. And what was I gonna say? The other countries didn't really even have vaccines yet in their countries.
Yeah.
Like 95% of them didn't even have like, vaccines yet. And so nobody was really vaccinated, and like it was super strict about that too. So like there wasn't really I didn't really see any
not normal behavior over there.
No, I mean, what I think the memo of it was like, all right, what happens here like absolutely stays here.
Yeah.
And like that seemed to be like pretty on par with what I saw, especially once the athletes like were done, because it was all ending at different times.
Yeah.
So like we were literally there. Baseball was there from the beginning to like the last thing. And so like swimming was like the first week, and then track was like the second week. And so you would see like teams that are like done competing, like, yeah, they were getting down.
Having a good time. Yeah.
They were having a good time.
It's funny that like there's so many rumors that swirl around about that. And
well, so from what I understand, we had Eddie Alvarez, who was at Sochi, and he was like, dude, there was clubs and bars in the village, like crazy restaurants, and it's like nuts.
Right. A little different.
So I kind of
just,
COVID. Yeah, I guess I got it on a bad year, but
there
was definitely some people partying.
Yeah, because it's funny because it sounds like just like a stereotype, like all these athletes, in their 20s right here, like all these stories about it. But then it seems like every athlete you'd ask about it, like pretty much confirms it. Like, yeah, that's pretty much what it's like.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. And like they did hand out like condoms and everything.
Yeah, so it's like, legit.
Yeah, that happened for sure.
Like a college dorm.
Basically. So the way they did it was they built basically what they turned into now is like apartments. So like they basically built these apartment buildings and then sold all of them, and then was like, okay, but like you're not going to move in until Tokyo's over, because all the athletes literally like stayed there. Like USA had its own building, and there, we had thousands of athletes, so it was like big. It was a big like effort.
Right. Yeah. What was the environments in the games like? Like, was it a pretty good crowd, or was it like restricted, or
no? Like no one there. Like very small. Like you'd have like one person here, one person there, like maybe 20 people, 30 people. But when we played against Japan, like it seemed like there was like really important Japanese people in the bleachers, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like with like bodyguards and stuff. So that was kind of crazy. Like, some like mogul over there, like probably paid so much money to like go watch that game and stuff. Like, so they had like a few people like that, but like definitely not like cheering and stuff. But it was like intense, like really intense.
That sucks. It fell in a COVID year, because I bet that because the baseball environment when I was over there, like they had like live bands and dancers and everything. I bet that would have been nuts. Like on a normal year, you go play back over there, because they just have live bands playing while you're pitching. You're like, what is going on, dude? It sounds like halftime of a football game.
Stuff.
Yep, like the whole time, dancers on the dugout.
And they're doing the chants the entire game.
Yeah, it was nuts. But you said the games were pretty intense, though. Like,
because like the dugouts were very loud as far as the other teams. Like, those Japanese teams, like Japan, actually, and then like Korea, like they were really vocal in the dugout. So that's just kind of how they play. But it was intense, dude.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
I can absolutely imagine that. So I want to go back further now because I remember our buddy JJ Goss telling me about this. But apparently, you raked a little bit in high school, huh?
Oh yeah, I could swing it a little bit. I was one of the best 5 o'clock hitters around though. Like straight up, just a BP. Like I can put on a show and like I can run into them. But
so for the non-baseball crowd, explain what a 5 o'clock hitter is.
So a 5 o'clock hitter is somebody that absolutely bangs in BP, like shows out. You're like, oh my God. Maybe a guy on the other team, like, oh my God, this guy's about to just torch us, going 4 for 4 with 3 jacks for sure. And then you get in the game and you throw him like a slider and then he just falls down and you're like, and then he does it every at bat and you're like, oh, okay. Like he's got like, he hit the ball really hard, but
a lot of those guys go high picks though. Like,
oh my God, yeah.
Because the showcase circuit is just like so big and it's BP and they want to see like the tools and potential. So they'll take flyers on those guys and you face them in the minor leagues and you're like, they paid this guy how much now?
Dude, yeah, because like everyone's just talking about like exit velo and all that. And then you got these kids in BP they're just over swinging like every swing.
Right.
And it's like, well, that's not as hard to get you out.
Yeah. Schnelly told me if he wasn't on in time to ask you about the area code home run derby.
How'd y'all find out about that?
I don't know how he did. I'm not even sure what the story here is, but I see you're putting on a show.
So basically, from what I understand, I still am the single round record holder for homers at area code.
That's sick. And I mean,
that's the first round.
And that was your same class as Hunter Green, right?
Yeah. Royce, dude, who was in that? Hunter Green, maybe? I don't know.
Royce was in there too.
Royce Lewis was in there. Joe Adele ended up winning it. There were some big names in there. I'm like, how did I get picked for this? Like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't even hit at area code. I just pitched.
They just knew you were 5 o'clock here. They wanted you to put on a show.
Literally, I hit BP there, and they're like, you're doing the derby. You're doing the derby. I'm like, honestly, all right. And
why not?
I hit like 26 home runs the first round. Dude, it was just like, I got in a little groove, and I had a good BP thrower, and I just got in a groove, and I was just lifting them out, like a little bit of a short porch to left. And I was just like, dude, just taking like slow pitch softball swing. Like,
that's awesome.
Just hitting them up in the air. And then the second round, so it was like a 5-minute round. And I hit like, as many as I could. And this massive dude, they were doing head-to-head, so you got to win your head-to-head.
Yeah.
And this massive dude comes up, who I thought was going to win it. He's probably 6'6", like 260. He hit 1 home run, 5 minutes.
So you wasted all that energy.
I absolutely ruined. I totally ran out of gas. Second round, I couldn't even do it.
That's awesome. Beat him by 25
Joe
home runs.
hit a million.
Yeah.
But I was like, just going for it off the rip.
That's what's funny though. I bet you're out there, like you said. I mean, you're just putting everything you had into it, trying to launch them, and then like those big time hitting prospects just make it look so easy. They could just do it for hours.
So easy, dude. They'll end up hitting like 70 homers or something. I'm like,
it was some of the most impressive BPs I've ever seen. Like going through USA and going through some of that, like where you're seeing the best guys who not only can do it in BP but also do it in the game.
Yeah,
there's a big difference there. Like even when I got to college and I was watching BPs, like it was nothing like when I like Nolan Gorman hitting and Jared Kelenic hitting. All these guys are just it was like this is automatic every time. Like they can hit it out whenever they want to.
Dude, it's just they get mistakes in the game and they just literally don't miss them.
Yeah. Yeah. Where were you committed?
TCU.
Two-way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna two-way.
Yeah, they definitely gave me that two-way in case somebody else did. Like
exactly.
You're committing.
And you know what? It sold me on it. It sold me on it because no one else would, and I'm like, I want to do it. Like I don't care.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing for sure. But no, dude, I had teams telling me I could go round 3 to 5 as a hitter, but I was like,
nah.
I watched baseball on TV. Like, no.
I said that when I got to college because, like, I feel like if you're a good athlete, you're gonna be a good hitter in high school.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember watching some of the first bullpens when I got there, and I'm like, yeah, I've never hit this ever.
Especially there.
Yeah, I'm not hitting
some donkeys.
Yeah, we can sling it around. So yeah, that was a quick note from me. But
yeah,
it's funny talking about guys or colleges offering two ways because I heard a story that it was actually my coach at Georgia telling me when Justin Fields was getting recruited, he wanted to play baseball too. And so Kirby called Coach Strickland and was like, hey, you got to offer him. Like, we got to get this guy here. We know he's not going to play baseball. We got to get him the offer.
Yep. Dude, because
Strickland's like, yeah, sure.
As soon as they get there, it's literally, hey, you're never going to play baseball.
Yeah, they'll not give you the option, but because we had a guy who did both, but it was like, yeah, you can do both, but you can't miss these lifts either if you're going to play football during the spring. And it's like, well, yeah, I can't.
You literally can't do both.
The guys that have in the past, like Pat Connaughton with the Bucks that played both basketball
and baseball,
that's crazy.
They have to make it pretty easy on you.
Crazy.
Somewhat.
That's a lot of time. I mean, one sport takes a lot. I cannot imagine playing two.
No.
Especially at a high level like he did. That's nuts.
You have to have a lot of talent to make up for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So out of high school, obviously get drafted by the Pirates. And I don't know if I told you before, but Shook here, diehard Pirates fan.
Oh, okay.
So sure, gotcha. I'm sure you had the full scouting report on Shane coming out of high school, huh?
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously you're traded. How long into it? You only played probably a half season?
Well, yeah, I went GCL instructs, spring training, extended, got to short season, and then got traded with like 2 weeks left in the season. So yeah. I was with him about a year,
so almost
a couple months.
And I feel like I guess that was 2018, right?
Yeah.
I feel like 2018 is kind of when teams started buying into the analytics of pitching a little bit, especially the Rays. Like the Rays were at the forefront.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, no, I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just going to ask, like, because I know the Pirates have always been notorious, especially then, and stuff has changed so much now.
Right.
Of, like, really wanting you to be two-seam heavy. Like, they did that with a lot of their pitchers. When you got to the Rays, was it like just instantly turn the ball in your hand, like, nah, this is what you're going to throw?
So, yeah, I'd say that's when a lot of teams – that's when I'd say the majority teams started kind of switching over, but
yeah,
the Rays were already, way ahead. But
right.
Yeah, basically the funny thing was I had no idea what any of this stuff was, and they were like, "Hey, your two seam, like, has more run than your four seam, but it's got like higher spin tilt." Yeah. And they were like, just try and throw your four seam like your two seam. Like, okay. They're showing me videos of my hand, from behind, and I'm like, that's not me.
You're 19 at this time?
Yeah, and I'm like, that's not even my hand. Like, that's not how I throw a ball. And they're like, yeah, it is. And I'm like, no, it ain't. Like, that ain't my hand. and just straight up, like, not believing it. I'm like, that's not what I feel off my hand. Like, this and that. But I was already kind of four-seam dominant anyway.
Yeah.
And I would kind of mix this in for show. And that's kind of how I was with the Pirates too. So when they were just like, hey, you should try and, just your four-seamer, I was like, all right, I'll give it a whirl. Yeah. I like the four-seamer anyway more.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be fun just to blow fastballs by guys. I don't get to do it that often. And I throw it hard. I throw it hard, and you would think that. And then when I got to college, I'm sitting there trying to blow it by dudes, and it's getting smacked around. I'm like, I'm going to have to start sinking this thing.
You got to set it up.
Yeah,
but no, dude, that's the best pitch in baseball.
Yeah.
A pitch thrown fast enough has never been
hit. That's a good saying there. But that you said that you were throwing your two-seam at a higher tilt than your four-seam.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So nowadays you would figure out that my two-seam was seam shifted wake to where it was just running. But it's just with that spin orientation, because if you flip that same spin orientation to a four-seam, it would look like it's almost cutting.
Right.
So basically they were like, you stay, but it was probably a lot more efficient, my two-seam. So they were like, try throwing your four-seam like you throw your two-seam. And I'm like, okay, like, I don't know how I'm going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so what do you throw your four-seam at tilt now?
I don't really keep track of it as far as during the season. Like, yeah. I just go out there and pitch. But right. I think my till is usually at like 1 o'clock, somewhere around there, give or take.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And so if you're listening and completely lost right now, we're talking about the tilt on the baseball in terms of like a clock. So think about it. 12 o'clock would be straight, true backspin.
Yeah.
1 o'clock is where he's saying he throws his. And then like me, I throw my two-seam at 2:30. So that's nuts. That's nuts. You throw the two-seam up there.
Dude, they said my two-seam, like when I was getting it to not run and just like kind of stay straight, they were like, this has 18 inches of vertical break. I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
Right.
And they're like,
which is a very good number.
And they're like, your four-seam has 15. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. Like, I'm like, you're literally talking to a wall. So I was just like, okay, and kind of went home that off season and versed myself. But yeah, it was it was different.
What's crazy to think about too is if like, because I think about this a lot, because my career would have changed too. If numbers weren't a big thing, you might have never known that. Like, you might have been throwing still two like pretty average pitches instead of one extremely elite fastball, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, just the more I pitched, the more I learned that my four-seam was better. Yeah. And kind of learned that my slider was better than my, hook as a, just growing up, like, damn, my two-seam always gets hit. Like, so I would only use it, to righties or, a lefty trying to get him to chase something. But like, I kind of already had the inkling, and they were kind of like, we really want you to try this. I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And like, ended up kind of building my own plan with it and taking that into 2019. But yeah.
So in 2019, you were a hot rod.
I was a hot rod.
Right? Yeah, you're a full season.
It was
hot
low
rod
at the time.
Chanel also texted me and told me to ask you about the ejection in Bowling Green.
Oh. Yeah, I got thrown out. I got thrown out in Grand Rapids, or the Captains. No, it wasn't Lake County. It was the Whitecaps.
Yeah.
Wherever that is. Where is that?
Is it Fort Wayne? 10 caps?
No,
That's,
they were called
West Michigan's the Whitecaps.
Yeah, Western Michigan. We were in West Michigan, and so our manager the night before, the umpire blew a call at home to like end the game. Like somebody slid in for us to tie it or something in the ninth or go ahead, and got tagged like on his back, sliding feet first. Boom, bangs him. You're out. Our manager's like kicking dirt on the umpire, like freaking out. You know, he gets his money's worth. And I'm just kind of in the dugout like, damn, like, or excuse me, but I was just kind of like, dang. I was kind of like, dang, he's really getting into him. And so our manager gets suspended for 3 games. So the next day I'm starting, and he's just in his office sitting on his iPad, like streaming it because he can't go in the dugout. And so I'm starting, and dude, I just get, I like, from my perspective, I thought I had a few pitches that could have got called. I'm very, you know, I don't talk to the umpire ever. I won't even make a face.
Yeah.
And so I end up walking like 4 or 5 dudes on like 3-2 pitches that are just getting taken, and like hitters kind of looking back like, oh crap, is that a strike? And then like kind of tossing the bat. I'm just like,
getting no borderline calls.
You know, like getting
the worst
consistently. And I'm just like going to 3-2 on everybody. And I get yanked in like the 4th inning, like shortest start of the year at the time. And I'm just like, it's sick, you know. I was good for 100 pitches, you know, and I was coming out in the 4th, but whatever. And kind of like upset about it, but not really, you know. Tough game for sure. Try to grind through it. Go in the clubhouse. The manager's like, did you get tossed? And I'm like, no. And he's like, well, you need to go get tossed. And I'm like, it was that bad? And he's like, it was bad. Like, go get tossed right now. I'm like, okay, I'm going. Like, this is the only time I'm legitimately getting a green light. Getting a green light to just go for it. So I go right back in the dugout. Like the next half inning, I want to say Proctor's hitting. Dude, Proctor, like, you know, lefty, it's like a 2-strike pitch. He gives him like one of these, like, you know, just a little hand, just a check. Ump goes, you know, I got a swing. Yeah. He's like, you're the out. Worst. Bad, really bad call. And so I just start going. I'm just like, you know, I just start going. I can't obviously say exactly what I said. I don't even know if I remember all of it, but it basically turned into the ump hearing me, and I just kept going, you know, you're no good. And and he, you know, that's enough. That's enough. And I'm like, no, it's not enough. I'm like, because you're no good, you know, yada, yada. And he's like, that's it. That's it. And I'm like, nope, that's not it. Like, he's trying to not throw me out. Obviously. Yeah. And I'm like, at this point, I'm instructed to
you had the green light. You can't let that go. Like that. Yeah. Like, if you get the green light to get thrown out, you've got to get thrown out.
Yeah. And especially when the manager tells you to. Yeah. I'm like, I have to. So I just, you know, kept it going. And it was long, dude. Like, it was a long, like, everybody in the dugout's just like, you know, like, dang, how long is this going to go? Put the hitters out of the box.
That's awesome.
And he just, boom, you're gone. And then I said, no, you're gone. And then I went back in the clubhouse and said what's up to my manager for the rest of the game.
Who was y'all's manager that year?
It was Ray.
Okay. That's awesome. I love that. He's just like, no, you need to.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, no, like, go right now. I'm like, okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. So yeah,
We got
clearly,
the boys fired up. We came back and won.
that's all. He knew what he was doing. That's good managing.
I'll do anything.
Did you come back in the dugout afterwards and tell everybody like, "Hey, Ray just told me to get tossed. I'm about to do it."
No, I was like, at that point, I was like, dang, I guess those pitches were kind of bad. So I was like,
So you started getting.
I'm
more
just
pissed.
gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for another bad one. And I just sat there and just waited for another bad one.
Was that? Did they have TrackMan in the dugout then or no?
No, dude, no.
That we talked about that on here. That makes it miserable for umpires. Miserable.
Oh yeah. Well, now I'm pretty sure if you do anything in the big leagues, it like hold up an iPad or like do something like automatic, you're gone.
Yeah.
Or say, I don't even think you can say like, oh, da-da-da had that outside. Like, I'm pretty sure it's boom. But yes, dude, last year especially in the minor leagues, it was horrible for umpires.
Horrible. I remember we were in Charleston
Really
one time
bad.
and this guy, I remember Blake saying, "What we got?" And he's like, "I had a strike." He's like, "It wasn't." I could see
and
it.
it wasn't. And
I
it
could literally
wasn't.
see it right here. Yeah, the instant feedback is the worst case scenario for umpires.
It's so bad. It's their literal nightmare for sure.
So I wanted to ask you a little bit about what happened at the alternate site. And I don't know if it's something where it was just you were able to really just focusing on development and working on things because your walk and strikeout numbers just like went in opposite direction. Like your strikeouts went way up and your walks went way down.
Yeah.
Was it just like you kind of coming into your body, or was there a certain change you made where it made it like a lot easier?
So I went from wind up to stretch in 2019 in the fall league, and it went really bad, but I knew that it was going to be better for me in the long run, and that when I was out of the stretch, my stuff was exactly the same. So that kind of confirmed it even more. And then basically my whole objective since I got drafted was literally make my stuff do exactly what I want. Like I knew in my head what I wanted all my stuff to do and how I wanted it to come out of my – I didn't know that yet, but I knew what I wanted it to do and I knew it worked coming out of my hand. So I kind of just started working on all my pitches because in high school, dude, I just had a fastball. Like all my off speed was bad. I had my cutter and that was it. And so I went with those two and literally just made those shapes how I want, made this how I want, and that. And that was kind of the end of 2019 was when all that stuff was really starting to be how I wanted. And after that season, my main goal when I was throwing was literally like put it where I want. And so now I had all the releases I wanted and the movement I was looking for. And it was literally like make them as consistent as I can. And then from that point on, it was literally like I know my pitches are kind of what they are at this point, and now I'm literally gonna try and just throw it where I want and not worry about movement. And that's kind of the approach I took, and it's been working a little bit. So
yeah, so you
sticking with it right now.
You did it backwards from what a lot of people teach, and we kind of bust. We like to bust a lot of like old school baseball myths on here, like
of course
velo's not important, stuff like that, when it clearly very clearly is. Right. So like everybody, you're growing up, they're going to teach you command. You need to work on command.
Yeah.
You kind of did it backwards where it's like, I'm going to make my stuff move like I want it, and then I'm going to figure out how to throw it.
Yeah. And I'm going to figure out how to produce velo.
Yeah.
That was what I was trying to do in high school, in middle school even.
Right.
Like, all right, how can I get stronger and how can my mechanics get better? Like to throw harder.
Yeah. Which, let's be honest, that's what gets you paid. Like that's what gets you paid out of high school. Nobody's throwing 88 that can really pitch is going to go in the first round out of high school. That's just how it is.
Not
like,
unless, The only way is insane college numbers, and then you're just
in college a little different. Yeah, but like coming out of high school,
there's no
stuff
way.
is going to play. Like that's what's going to get you seen. So
velo is going to give you opportunities.
Right. Like that's
even at a D1 school, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like I said, I was terrible when I got to school, and I was terrible the first couple of weeks of the year. But
what did you top out at in high school though? Like
I threw
you
hard.
Were throwing,
threw very hard. I threw hard in high school. I mean,
like
I was topping,
right?
Yeah, I think my last couple outings, I was like up to 7, maybe 8.
Damn.
When I got to college, like I was throwing hard. I was throwing 100.
Like, dude, this Cole Wilcox kid is gonna get drafted super high.
Yeah, I wanted to go to school. That was one of my things. So I get to school, I'm sucking, but I'm throwing hard, and I have good stuff. And it's like you're gonna keep getting opportunities because we know you're gonna figure it out.
Exactly.
So like I hate when I hear that, velo doesn't matter, do this, that, and another. And yeah, you can pitch without the velo, and you can have good stuff, but
for sure,
you can't work you can work on velo by maintaining your body and stuff. But once you get that, you can really work on command. That's easy to do.
Yeah.
Like getting explosive, getting your body to work together to produce the velo, that's the hard part. In my
opinion. And consistently and being able to like recover from it.
Yep.
Oh.
I lost a bit.
Hold on.
All good.
Yeah. How do I okay. There we go.
Yeah, we're back.
Okay.
We're back.
Sorry, the phone call.
That's cool you said that though.
Sure. But yeah, I mean that's kind of honest to God like game plan.
I like that a lot.
I've
never really heard that before, but that
a lot of people thought I was
so much
crazy.
Sense.
A lot of people thought I was crazy, and they're like, I'm like, well, I want to make my stuff do what it's gonna do, because if I can make that consistent, it's so much easier to hit your spot. Think about like, dude, like when I saw my first plot from the Rays, like, dude, my fastballs and my stuff is like legitimately everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, you know how hard it is to throw strikes when you don't know what the ball is going to do out of your hand?
Exactly.
Like, I was still working with that stuff, just trying to make my stuff consistent so that, if I'm throwing a ball to the outside corner, it's not going like this one pitch and going like this the next one, so that was that was the turning point, I think, was when I really got my stuff consistent and like how I wanted. Yeah,
I agree. It makes so much sense to me. I guess I'm a pitcher, but know how your stuff is going to move to be able to throw it where you want. 'Cause it's impossible if you don't. I remember when I learned my 2-seam, I'd been throwing I called it a sinker in college. It was a 4-seam grip. It was pretty average, like numbers, but it did sink a little bit.
Yeah.
When I got in the Padres, they just gave me a 2-seam, and I started throwing that. And I remember my first outing when I was in San Diego at the alternate site. Dude, I threw it off the plate like every single time. Like I was trying to throw it low.
Like it's just gone.
I keep a sinker low, so I'd start it low and then boom, off the plate. And I never had a ball move like this before, so I'm like, I can't throw this for a strike.
I have to change something.
Yeah, and I remember how simple it was when one of the coaches there, he got me and he was like, all right, we're gonna have the catcher set up down the middle. He said, throw this at his right shoulder. I'm like, okay. Boom, right where I wanted it, because I knew how it was gonna move. All I needed to do was know where to throw it. Like I knew how it was gonna move.
Yeah.
And then it was like, just throw everything there. Change up, right shoulder of the catcher, see where it goes. I was like, this is all it takes. This is pitching.
Yeah.
Like when you simplify it like that, like the hard part is getting the stuff. Like,
yeah,
if that was easy, everybody would be throwing nasty stuff.
Exactly.
Like get the stuff and then figure it out.
Yeah. I think you got to be able to spin the ball.
Have to. And that's hard. Like especially when you're trying stuff out new, like trying to find the right grip, right pressure, everything. That's the hardest part.
And especially like in our shoes being, pretty, we're starting to get polished as far as like learning a new this or that. Like just because we're so far into our development, like,
yeah,
dude, our margins are tiny. So it's like doing new stuff is even harder.
Mm-hmm. And it's like you're learning. So if you try to implement a cutter, which, that's what I'm trying to do, you're like, all right, this looks pretty good. And you look and it's the same thing as your slider. You're like, okay, well, I got to try something else here.
Yeah.
Like that's the same. Like you get in the habit of like throwing that pitch where you're trying something new and you just go back to naturally throwing it that way because you've been doing it.
Dude, exactly. 100%.
Throwing a new pitch is tough. It's more than just holding the ball and throwing it. Like you can check somebody's grip and use it and try to use it. But
yeah,
at the same time, the way they're throwing that grip and the angle they're throwing it, the pressure they're throwing at is way different than
totally different.
You're doing it.
Yeah.
So
that's why I think like guys shouldn't, necessarily be like, oh, you're a high spin rate, you got to throw a four seam. And It's like, what if his sinker is like disgusting because he throws, from a high slot and he has a, low spin tilt. So what if his sinker is nasty? Like, you don't know.
Yeah. And we had my college coach on last week, pitching coach, and that's what he was saying. Like, that's the coolest part of his job now is like he gets a guy in at throwing 95 and it's no longer like, oh, just go up in the zone and throw it by these guys. Like he could have a really good sinker. And it's like, this might be a two-seam guy. When in the past, you're thinking 95, he's just blowing that by people.
Yeah. Fastball slider, and maybe the dude's got a sinker and a changeup.
Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
So I can't let you go before we ask about, the call-up last year. Walk us through how that went.
Yeah, we were in Charlotte, and I was dealing actually with some back spasms at the time. Just kind of randomly came up. Got scratched on like a Thursday. Like supposed to pitch. There's 2 weeks left in the season, and basically they're like, if you can, like, we're going to try and have you throw a bullpen on Saturday. And if you get through that, like you'll pitch on Monday or pitch on Tuesday in Durham. I'm like, okay. And, go out there, like pen's good. They're like, hey, like step on a couple. I'm like, all right, rip a couple. They're like, is it good? I'm like, yeah, feels good. And so day goes by, come in the next day on Sunday, and literally just playing cards before the game. And Brady's like, team meeting right now, everybody. I'm just like, oh shit. Like some bad shit happened. Like,
yeah.
Because the last time he did this, he caught somebody on a scooter, on a line scooter riding around, and it did not go well. And so I'm just like, damn, somebody was on a scooter again. Like, we're in Charlotte, there's scooters everywhere. Like, we're gonna get some shit for this. And he's just like, this guy, I've known him for a couple years now, this and that. And he was like, he told some funny story. I can barely even remember now, but basically he was like, yeah, Shane, you're going to start against the Blue Jays on Tuesday. And I'm like, wait, actually, like, you're not joking? And he's like, no, like, I'm serious. And I'm like, oh my God. And then just all the teammates came and like, dude, just dapping everybody up, and literally went back to the hotel right then, that Sunday night before the game, packed up all my stuff. All I had was a suitcase of just, dude, I packed so badly that week too. Like packed like an idiot. Like literally like couple pairs of shorts, couple t-shirts.
Yeah.
That's it. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I don't even have any of my stuff because I had to fly from Charlotte to Tampa.
Yeah.
And so literally get on a plane that night, fly down to Tampa, and I'm just like, go to the field the next day. And luckily my parents came that night at like 10 o'clock and dropped off some clothes for me from Texas. And I'm like, okay, I got a pair of pants now and a t-shirt. And literally Monday went to the Trop, played catch, didn't sleep a wink that night, and then through the next day.
That's sick. That's funny. Yeah, you don't want to roll up the first day of the job wearing some athletic shorts and
dude, like
t-shirt.
That Monday I showed up legitimately like shorts, t-shirt, tennis shoes, like looking like an idiot. Like an idiot.
That's awesome.
I'm like, this is the worst case. I'm getting grilled. I'm getting grilled for it.
That I know we talked about when you were over here the other day, a scenario. You were pitching in New York and you were facing Stanton and you got down 2-0 and you blew a fastball by him. Was that and I know you've been throwing really well, but like Giancarlo Stanton's an MVP.
Yeah.
Was it then? Did that kind of like validate the work you'd put in on like making your stuff good? Where it was like, I just got down 2-0 to one of the most dangerous hitters and then got away with the fastball.
Yeah, honestly, I'm trying to think. Dude, honestly, I feel like the moment was the first inning against the Blue Jays. Like when I got Springer, Simeon, Vlad, and I got him, I was just like, dude, what just happened? Like, there's no way. But Stanton, dude, I literally went first pitch slider, missed by a hair, didn't even like blink at it. I'm like, great. Throw another one. It's not as good. It's even lower. He like kind of goes for it a little bit, but nothing. 2-0. And so I just was like, dude, like, I'm going to see what he got right here. Went fastball up and in and like literally just caught him like next to his fingers and just shattered his bat, like little flare to like third base. But yeah, that was a crazy one because it was like I just had to go through, Glaber, Rizzo, Judge, Gallo, and then they're like Stanton, and I'm like, oh my god, like the one literally like just one after another.
No let up there,
dude. That's a good lineup.
Yeah, that is a good lineup.
It's a good lineup, dude. They don't have any holes.
Does that not suck though when you throw a pitch like you said, the first pitch to Stanton, and it's a good pitch that he should have swung at, and it's like, oh, he was auto taking. I could have thrown that right down the middle. I just wasted a pitch.
Exactly.
Like, dang it.
Exactly. Every time I do that, I'm like, why didn't I just like trick myself into thinking he's auto taking like I always do? But
yeah, it's like I just wasted one of my best sliders, and he was.
Yeah, I just literally showed him the lights out freak nasty put away, and it's 1-0.
Like I'm an idiot. Zucker, you got anything?
One thing I wanted to ask. So, I was telling Cole this earlier. I didn't know that you were from the same high school as Cabron Hayes.
Yeah.
And so you guys are drafted 2 years apart to the same thing. That had to be pretty cool, right?
So yeah, I've known Key Bryan a long time. We actually got four Crusaders in the show right now. We got me, Key, and then Glenn Otto and Adam Aller. So we're all Concordia guys. And
that's sick.
Yeah, but me and Key, yeah, dude, I actually transferred to that high school my junior year. So it was the year after he left. So I never played with him, but I always was around him growing up, just in travel ball. His dad, Charlie, is like one of the coolest dudes like ever. Played in the show for so long, literally just he coaches teams, and dude, he's just full of knowledge. So I've always like tried to talk to him every chance I get. And so Key Bryan is way more of like a chill, quiet, humble dude. He's the best. But yeah, dude, I think it was the first time there's been like 2 first-round picks to the same team from the same high school. So that was pretty cool.
That's
yeah, he's a beast. He's a beast.
Yeah,
well, you got him to
well.
look forward to for sure.
Yeah, him and Brian Reynolds, that's about it.
Brian Reynolds is legit.
You got Henry.
The truth.
Yeah,
You got Henry coming up.
Henry.
A diamond athlete.
Yeah.
Who else we
I mean, y'all definitely have it's definitely a good system. No.
Yeah, it's a lot to look forward to. They got a couple young prospects coming up that are
Wait, we had another Pirates guy. Oh, Sammy. He's a Pirates
Yeah,
guy, right?
Sammy. Sammy's also a
Yeah,
Pirates
Sammy.
guy.
Okay. I knew we had a couple. Well, Bozzy, appreciate you coming on, brother.
Anytime, guys. I
Don't take
appreciate
too
y'all
much of
having
your
me.
time. Schnelly just turned it in, I guess. He's not getting paid for the day, that's for sure.
What a sellout.
Yeah, just I mean,
He was on me about this too. He's like, if you don't text me back, or no, he said, like, if I text you, you better text me back. I'm like, dude, you're the one that forgot to text me last time.
Yeah. So
I at
Schnelly,
least have you as a witness for that.
yeah, I like to bust Schnell a lot because he's always talking about these guys like, oh, you want me to get Scott Rowland on the pod? I'm like, yeah, I want you to get Scott Rowland on the pod. Like, I don't even know why you'd ask me that. And so he's always like asking me all these people. He's like, oh, I met Sean Monet in the airport today. He came up to me. I was like, well, did you ask him to come on the pod? No, I didn't think about it. So I'm always like busting him, like, dude, you're blowing it. So I was like, text Boz and get him on. He's like, oh, yeah, I will. And so I asked him about it 2 weeks later, and he's like, yeah, he never texted me back. And so I was like, all right, well, let's text him again. So he looks at his phone. He's like, oh, he texted me back, and I didn't text him.
Yeah,
Like,
dude. Because no one probably like, oh, what a butthole, not texting me back. He's too good for this,
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
dude. Shelly
Well,
just dropping the ball.
I think it's when I met you, and it was like really the first time we talked, and I was like, this doesn't seem like a guy that was big league. So I asked Snelly, I was like, let's get Boz on the pod, and that's when he looked, and he was like, oh, dude, he said anytime, and I didn't text him back.
Yeah, he literally was like, hey, at what time next week? I hit him with like, dude, doesn't matter, any day you want. Like, let me know. And he's literally just nothing. I'm like, I guess they got somebody else. It's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't.
Classic.
He's ducking me now.
Classic. Yeah, well, we finally got you on. He's not here, so everything checks out. Everything's right in this world, it seems like.
Yeah, some things never change.
All right, Boz, we'll get healthy, and let's get you back out there, brother.
Yeah, you too, brother.
All right.
Take the rest of your rehab. Yep. Take care.